We are at alert level 5. Follow public health measures. Stay at home. Avoid non-essential travel.
It's already a vaccination leader in Europe, and now Denmark is one of the first to promise a digital vaccine passport. For these frontline workers, that could mean more freedom.
I think lots of people will use it, and for the world economy, it will be good, so we can move on.
It's a push to get life back to normal, the potential to open up travel, restaurants, even concerts for those who have been vaccinated.
It's an app that you can download.
IBM is pitching its technology, an app using a QR code that when scanned gives COVID information, including test results and vaccine status.
The more countries that will connect to a platform where this information can be shared, the more valuable the platform gets. But we need to start somewhere.
Concerns have been raised about privacy and that people who can't get a vaccine would be unable to return to normal life.
The drive here in Denmark mostly comes from business life and politicians.
This virologist also has public health concerns, not only because the vaccine doesn't give 100% immunity, but because of mutations.
There are these variants, and just a single introduction could be sufficient to cause serious harm to the Danish society. So I don't see that the passport can work on its own.
But for businesses, it can't come soon enough. The owner of this hot dog shop says he would happily check customers' passports if there were no restrictions at all.
Corona pandemic is very bad for business, for my business and for Denmark. We bleeding every day.
But for now, it's just a promise, then on detail, that the Danish government says should be up and running by the summer.
Go in there, boss. Go in there. Can we have this door locked off?
Yeah. Missiles screwing glasses.
That's right.
Do you mind turning that off for us, please? If I put it bluntly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Unlucky 13, yeah? Yeah. Okay. Whether you believe it or not, COVID-19 exists, doesn't it? True? And we're all here, with all due respect, that we should know better. Better. Yeah? We're all grown up. Yeah. We shouldn't be doing it. Simple as. Okay. So everyone except the gentleman behind the bar, can I ask you to leave, please?
Well, I'll tell you, right now, when we're opening up cautiously, it's not a wide open, rah, let's go party. There's a lot of areas, Toronto, still in lockdown, gray. Peel, still in lockdown in gray. York, still in lockdown in gray. And folks, please stay home. Please don't be traveling. Please do not have people over to the house. By no means is this wide open. We have to be cautious, super cautious. We saw what happened before, and we don't want it to happen again. So we're doing a little bit of a balance and letting small businesses open up very cautiously. But again, I stress, follow the guidelines and the protocols. No matter what the hospitals do, no matter what the government does, it's really up to the great people of Ontario that have done a great job so far. We've seen the numbers come down, but we're always concerned about the UK variant, South African variant, Brazilian variant. It moves a lot quicker, so we have to be super cautious again.
An update to an exclusive City News investigation we brought you last week. A senior staff member at a retirement home east of Toronto is now being investigated by the facility's operator for alleged abusive behavior. A number of door handles of suites at the White Cliff Terrace home in Cordes were removed. The suites belong to assisted living residents. Officials with the company that operates the home say the site's general manager has been placed on leave and all door handles have since been replaced.
Outrage after death threats were made against Niagara Region's top doctor. The medical community and political leaders are condemning violent and abusive language posted on social media against Dr. Mustafa Hirji, and experts fear that with anti-science rhetoric on the rise, threats like these will only increase. The photo of Dr. Hirji shared on Facebook demanding his termination triggered a slew of vulgar and violent comments, including one calling for his beheading. It was posted shortly after the province announced that Niagara would be moved into the grey lockdown level of the province's color-coded framework this week, the only region to be placed in the strictest level. Doctors across the province condemning the threats that have become all too familiar in the medical community.
Hirji, who's simply doing his job, trying to keep everyone safe during the COVID-19 pandemic, trying to save as many lives as possible, is now having to face these racist death threats.
While all retail stores can reopen in the grey level under strict capacity limits, most other businesses will remain closed. Dr. Hirji, who wasn't available for an interview today, said he advised the region move to the grey category to protect as many lives as possible and to prevent another lockdown and a third wave.
Of course, we have the right to peaceful disagreement in our society, but these type of death threats, and which undoubtedly are grounded in racism and Islamophobia, have to be countered immediately and must be stopped.
Shortly after threats surfaced, an outpouring of support and solidarity, with the hashtag #WeStandWithDr. Hirji trending on Twitter. The Prime Minister tweeting, "I am outraged to hear threats have been made against Dr. Hirji. This rhetoric is unacceptable and I strongly condemn it." The Premier also sharing his thoughts, tweeting, "There is absolutely no place for these kinds of threats in Ontario. Cut it out." But experts say it is not the first time, and unfortunately it won't be the last, that threats plagued doctors during this pandemic.
Well, again, I've always followed the health advice from our doctors 100% of the time. When they tell me something, I follow the doc's instructions per se. And it's up to us to avoid that third wave. It can be done.
I'm finding as this pandemic draws on, there's a lot of anger being directed at anyone that's got a public profile related to this pandemic. So nobody feels the other side is completely objective, but we have to have open discourse. We have to have civility and we have to have transparency. It's the only way we can do this.
Niagara Police says they are investigating the threats, and late last night Dr. Hirji did share his thoughts on Twitter. He wrote that he is deeply humbled by the volume and breadth of support, and more importantly gratified that so many are speaking up against violent language. He also adds, "In this together" has been a slogan of the pandemic. He hopes we can all return to that ethos. Violent threats, political attacks, denigrating those who disagree splinters us rather than unifies us. Let's listen more, understand each other, and come together through dialogue.
So it is on my mind. I am counting days.
Jody Vance was among the first in line to be vaccinated in BC. Her father is in a long-term care home in Delta, and she's a designated essential visitor, which means she was also given priority. They both received their first shot over a month ago.
I received my first dose on January 10th, and I am patiently waiting to get my second dose and trying my very best to not be concerned about how many days in between.
Early on, the province decided to delay the second dose from the recommended 35 days later to 42 instead, a bid to get the first dose into as many arms as possible. But in Vance's case, that 42-day window closed last Friday, and the timeline is even more critical for her 82-year-old father.
I'm hoping that this week or next, Dad will have received his second dose. The way these vaccines have rolled out, there hasn't been a lot of research on the time between doses. And I was trying to understand that even before I got my first dose of the vaccine, of what exactly that time in between means. Is there a window of urgency there?
Leading scientists still have questions about the impact of prolonged delays for second doses.
I think Canada needs to be prepared more, and I know that they're making efforts now to produce the vaccine here.
Horatio Bach is an infectious disease expert at UBC. He's critical of distribution plans that deliver the first dose without knowing for sure when the second dose would come.
The problem is the supply of the companies. If you go outside of this specific time, you don't know what will happen. So it's a big question mark. We don't know if it will work.
I'm just ready.
While Vance is eagerly waiting for that second shot, she says she remains very grateful for the first one.
This could have saved my dad's life. I don't know, and I'll take it.
The government is expected to face questions about vaccine supply during its next COVID update Tuesday.
Election day in Newfoundland and Labrador has been derailed by COVID-19. The province is now at its highest alert level. Health officials have confirmed a surge in new cases is linked to the new variant that first emerged in the United Kingdom. In Newfoundland and Labrador has been derailed by COVID-19. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Election day in Newfoundland and Labrador has been derailed by COVID-19. The province is now at its highest alert level. Health officials have confirmed a surge in new cases is linked to the new variant that first emerged in the United Kingdom. Less than 12 hours before polls were due to open, the province's chief electoral officer called off in-person voting, switching gears to allow voting by mail only. As Ross Lord reports, that's a first in Canadian election history.
In Newfoundland and Labrador, people who thought they'd be going out to vote are staying in, following a lockdown order by health authorities. An order reinforced by emergency alerts on phones and on TVs.
We are at alert level 5. Follow public health measures. Stay at home. Avoid non-essential travel.
Authorities are imposing restrictions first seen when the pandemic started. Only essential businesses remain open. Hospitals and long-term care homes are off limits to visitors with limited exceptions.
Everybody's in somewhat of a panic, like, they're getting tested for COVID like they never have before. I guess they're scared.
Especially since the COVID-19 outbreak was traced to the variant first identified in the UK, which is considered highly contagious. At least the daily count of new cases, which reached 100 2 days ago, is now declining.
We have 26 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our province.
Authorities say there's not enough evidence to prove the worst is over.
There's a lot of things we have to work out this weekend. Going to level 5 is a pretty big shock for. We're having just been announced last night at 8:30, so we're absorbing a lot of things.
Things like how to choose their next government.
I am suspending in-person voting for all 40 provincial electoral districts. In-person voting will not be rescheduled.
The entire election was shifted to mail-in ballots, requiring voters to register online. But obstacles are already appearing. The chief electoral officer says he's hearing the concerns of people about accessibility to computers and internet and the inability to provide identification digitally. Planners are now offering to approve mail-in kits to voters over the phone if they can prove they're on the voters list. There are complaints some people could be left behind, like in Labrador, where communities are hampered by language barriers, spotty phone and internet service, and slow mail service.
It often takes 3 to 4 weeks for mail from St. John's to arrive to the region. So even if everyone applies for their special ballot today, I don't know if the ballots are going to show up before the date that they're due back in St. John's.
Election officials hope using express post will speed up the process, enabling all voters to return their ballots by March 1st. But there's no guarantee the province will pull off this makeshift election successfully.
Starting tomorrow, new measures come into effect in Britain. UK nationals coming from 33 red list countries will have to quarantine in a government-approved hotel. The stay will cost the traveler thousands of dollars. They'll also be forced to cover the costs of 2 COVID-19 tests. As our Europe Bureau Chief Crystal Gumansing explains, anyone caught breaking the new rules could face jail time.
This is a sample room I'm going to take you into now.
It's no luxury suite, but you will get a yoga mat in your room at this government-designated quarantine hotel.
The most important thing is the virus killer, which is a machine which is running 24/7, is sucking up the air and cleaning the air and killing any germs.
New restrictions are being imposed on British nationals landing in England from 33 countries, mostly in South America and Africa. Portugal is the only European location on the government's red list. Other travelers from COVID-19 hotspots were previously banned.
When they arrive, they'll be escorted to a designated hotel, which will be closed to guests who aren't quarantining for 10 days or for longer if they test positive for COVID-19 during their stay.
The Health Secretary detailed the government's new strategy in Parliament this past week. UK media reports, however, outlined concerns from the Immigration Services Union, saying its members were still unclear on their role. Travelers who don't comply could be hit with huge fines and the possibility of up to 10 years behind bars.
We'll be backing this new system with strong enforcement of both home quarantine and hotel quarantine. People who flout these rules are putting us all at risk.
England has been in lockdown since mid-December, the third so far in this pandemic. Infection rates, hospitalizations, and deaths are steadily declining, but virus variants pose an increased threat.
In the first wave, 0.1% of cases came from China, where we had restrictions. 62% came from France and from Spain, where we didn't have restrictions. And there's every reason to think that the variant will behave in the same way.
From Monday, positive COVID-19 tests from travelers will be sent for genomic sequencing, a move that will allow health officials to watch for new mutations and give other nations a heads up on what could be coming to their shores.
We are at alert level 5. Follow public health measures. Stay at home. Avoid non-essential travel.
This has been a Dog in a Bonnet production, 2021.